We start. What's going on? All my beautiful, amazing people with a purpose, people with potential. Hope each and every one of you are enjoying your amazing weekend. If it's amazing, if you're going through something, however you're feeling, you're not alone. Like we're here for you. We're here to give you a shoulder, a hug, a lean. You can lean on my shoulder. You can lean on my brother's shoulder. We get people to share experience, strength, and hope on this page. So I'm gonna get my brother whatever's on his heart, whatever how he's feeling. I'm sure we'll talk about sponsorship, on how important it is. So if everybody's tuning in, you know the drill, you know the routine. Let's get them clean dates going. Let's get them locations going, where you're located from. And let's go. Hey, Richie, share this out, man. Go. Hold on. So what's going on, family? Let's get them locations going right now. We got a brother about to share his experience, strength, and hope. Let's get them clean dates going. So what's going on, family? How's everybody feeling tonight? I see that we got a good group of people on. Let's go ahead and share this out. If you're just tuning in to Inspirational Freestyle Recovery Flow, we have resources. No, I don't work for a treatment center, but like it's very important. Like, did we work a program, right? Did we go to meetings, right? And we go to face-to-face meetings and we receive hugs. I don't know what fellowship you attend, but I know what a hug feels like, right? So if you're just coming on, let's get this shared out. I'm going to pray my brother in, and whatever God puts on his heart, I'm going to let him rock with it, man. All right. Lord Almighty God, I just want you to place hands on my brother Dakota as he shares his experience, strength, and hope. If he struggles with any lack of confidence, any low self-worth, or any low self-esteem, I just want you to put some positive inspiration and motivation and place that enthusiasm in his heart and that passion, Lord God, that he has to just touch that one sick and suffering or that addict that is struggling clean or whatever they're going through, however they're feeling, that his message you just push his message out farther, Lord God, and just know that this Inspirational Freestyle Recovery Flow, it wouldn't be nothing without you, Lord God, in the picture. And I truly believe that and send the blessings down. We are blessed men in recovery. And so we can bless others, Lord God. And amen. Inspirational Freestyle Recovery Flow. Let's go. Go ahead, baby. Dakota, go ahead.
Ooh. All right. I'm an addict named Dakota. Wow, man. I'm so grateful to be here, man. I'm grateful to be alive and clean and to be asked to share my experience, strength, and hope tonight, man. Like, I'm here to tell you that I'm clean today only through God's grace and God's mercy. I love you, Carl, man. I've been rocking with you for a while, right? Like since I had like 6 months. I got my bracelet on, man. The pain shared is pain lessened. Yeah. Man, we just me and my people out here, man, we're rocking with you, man, and we believe in you, right? Um, it's amazing, man. I was taught that when I share, man, I got to go through a process of identification, hope, and sharing. Like some people don't, man, and some people, and this was me, right? Like getting so caught up in the literature and how I don't need to share that, but man, like when I first got clean, man, like I needed to hear some things. Like I needed to know that you shot dope like me, man. That you know, and you used like me, and you did the things I did, man. And you overdosed like I did, and you went to prison like I did. You know, like I needed to hear that stuff, man, because I needed to know that, like, if you can stay clean and you can do it one day at a time, man, like just for today, like I can too. You know, so I'm gonna go through that process, man, and like I'm gonna share a little bit about my story and like my past, you know, and like so you can see like where I came from, man. So like you can see where God is taking me, right? You know, man, God's greatest gift to me was my clean date, and that's January 8th of 2019, man. So you know, I'm coming up on a birthday, you know, here next month, you know, I'll
Your
be
thing's
celebrating
cutting up a
18
little bit,
months.
though. I don't know why. It's cutting up.
Can you hear me? Okay. Like I was saying, man, my clean date is January 8th of 2019. You know, I'm coming up on a birthday, coming up on 18 months clean, man, and through God's grace and mercy, and because I work a program of recovery, man. You know, I didn't get clean to just remain abstinent. You know, our goal is recovery as experienced through the 12 steps, not mere abstinence, man. Like I'm not here to just stay clean just to stay clean, man. Like I'm trying to live a different way. Like I'm trying to, you know, be able to practice spiritual principles in situations that like I never could before, man, and have spiritual experiences, right? And like I've had many spiritual experiences, man, and like I truly believe, right? Like I can't have a spiritual experience without my spirit being awakened. So like through a process of these steps, man, and like coming to believe and like and building a relationship with a power greater than me, you know, I choose to call that God, you know, and if that word is sensitive to, you know, like gift of desperation, right? Like good orderly direction, you know, group of drug addicts, right? You know, but that's my experience, man, and that's the higher power of my understanding. You know, I choose to call God, you know, and man, I'm a Christian, you know, I was saved and baptized, man, and like, you know, share a little bit about that and you know my past. So like I'm gonna just get right into it and like how the disease was so prevalent in my life before I ever picked one up. Like before I took that first one, man, like how the disease was getting to me, man, like how it's the tentacles of the disease can spread to every area of my life, man. And like how you know growing up, man, like 2 years old, man, my grandmother got custody of me, right? Like my mother and my father, they suffer from this disease, you know, and they pretty much gave me to my grandmother, man, and you know, she raised me, she did the best she could, man, and it's like how at like 5 and 6 years old, man, like the lying started, you know, like I would lie because it would get me out of self. It would relieve some of that pain of that emotional trauma and that emotional pressure that like the situation and the relationship I had with my parents was put on me, man. Like I'm talking about like 6 years old, man, like seeing a crack pipe like and knowing what it is. You know, like that's something that the fucking 6 year old shouldn't know, man. You know, and that's my experience, man. You know, that is part of my story. And and like how the lying, man, you know, this disease we have is fatal, incurable, and progressive, man. So like the lying progressed into manipulation, and I would manipulate people in situations to for the outcome that best suited me, you know, and like how the and then like how the manipulation turned into like self harm, you know, like at a young age, man, like 10, 11 years old, like the self harm, you know, because it numbed that feeling for a minute, right? Like it released some of that. It made me feel out of myself, you know, because I was never comfortable in my own skin. You know, I always hated myself. You know, I always felt like I wasn't enough because my parents didn't want
Explain me
me,
a cigarette,
or that's
please.
what I thought at the time. You know, that's what I thought at the
Somewhere.
time, man. My parents didn't want me, but
Okay.
right as I come to know this disease, man, and like I understand like they were powerless over it, right? And they would do anything they could to get one more, man. And if that meant hurting me, like anything's on the table, you know. And I can accept that today, you know. I don't hold any resistance today towards them, man, because like I've worked steps and through the process of working steps, like we work through these things, You know, like I'm talking about like a deep rooted resentments, man, like a hatred for my parents, you know, and only through like a 4-step, man, is that stuff able to even come out, you know. So like, you know, the self-harm, you know, it eventually turned into, you know, I took that first one. You know, I was 12 years old, man, and I took that first one, you know, and it made me feel different, man. It numbed those feelings, right? Like it got me out of myself, like I was saying, and it made me feel a part of, you know, and like, man, it talks about like when I picked that first one up, you know, like I had little indication of the disaster the future held for me, you know, and like, and I'm a skateboarder, man, so I would skate all the time, and I ended up getting hurt, and you know, you know, I was just smoking, and then it turned into like prescription pills, man, and like, you know, getting a prescription, man, you know, I broke my ankle and got a prescription, and it's like, you know, that they were gone like in 3 or 4 days, you know, like, and that's when like the disease really like took hold, man. Like talks about in the grips, man, like being in the grips, you know, like the disease had a grip on my neck, man, and it's like when someone's got a grip on you, right, like the light's fading out, man, and you're starting to see stars and whatnot, right, and that's where I was at, man, and like,
are you sure? Yeah, go ahead.
the prescriptions, man, and the pills, it kept progressing, right? You know, that's what I share. You know, it kept progressing, and it got to a point when I was like 16, man, and I was so strung out. You know, my family was trying to send me to rehab, man, and you know that this is how the disease had me in its grip so much, man. Like I tried to commit suicide, man. Like I would rather die at this point than to stop using. You know, but I'm so grateful that suicide attempt, you know, I'm a survivor, man. Like, you know, I wasn't successful, you know, and that's just God's grace and God's mercy, you know, that's God working in my life. And at the time I couldn't see that it was God working in my life, man, because like my eyes, my spiritual awareness, like my eyes were closed spiritually, you know, I was spiritually asleep, you know, like living in dereliction, man, like so far from God, you know, like no relationship with God, man, and having like resentments towards God, you know, like how could He do this to me? You know, how could He give me these parents that suffer from this disease, and I went through all this, you know, like how could God do that, you know, and it's like, so I went to treatment, man, and you know, like this ain't affiliated with any treatment facility or nothing like that, you know, like that's just my story, you know, I'm just sharing my experience, man, and like how members came in and they were on a panel, you know, and they came in and carry a message, you know, and I heard the message for the first time, you know, and like even at 16, you know, like closed-minded, you know, unwilling, like the message is so powerful, right? Like it pierced an unwilling heart, you know, it pierced a closed mind, you know, and like from that day on, man, like I always knew there was somewhere I could go, you know, like when at the end of the road, man, like when nothing else worked, like I knew where I could go, you know, so I got out of treatment, man, and I stayed clean for a little while. I started going to meetings and attending meetings and being of service, you know, that's what they told me, like be of service, you know, hit 90 meetings in 90 days. I did these things, man, but I wasn't willing to do no steps, you know, like I wasn't willing to work the steps, you know, and it talks about, man, like the steps are our solution, you know, like they're our survival kit against addiction, which is a deadly disease, you know, and it's like when problems would arise in my life at the time, you know, I'd been with this girl and I went through a breakup, man, and I used, you know, and like my first sponsor, you know, I pretty much got a sponsor just to say I had a sponsor, you know, everyone kept asking me like, who's your sponsor? So I finally got a sponsor. I was like, okay, he's my sponsor now, you know, like leave me the hell alone, you know, and he's like a hardcore member, man, like, you know, old school member, right? Like he celebrated 31 years this February, February 3rd, man, and you know, when I went out and I came back, you know, and I got another white key tag, right? Like he told me, man, like punks and jerks use over feelings, man. And that's what he told me, you know, and it's like, that's what I experienced, man. Like I experienced that tough love. It talks about like there's certain areas like how other people, you know, practice recovery and some areas it's tough love, you know, and I understand, man, like all newcomers don't need to hear that, you know, but like that's what I needed to hear at the time, man. And like I was ready to fight him, you know. He's a big dude too, you know. He's like 6'5", like 300 pounds, right? And and I'm trying to fight him, you know, because I'm like, I'm not no punk. But he told me, right, like when he like we don't get high over feelings today, Dakota. Like we don't pick up no matter what. You know, like whatever we go through, man, like we don't have to use it. And that's what I'm telling all you guys, right? Like no matter how painful life's tragedies can be for us, one thing is clear. We must not use no matter what. Because like what is that going to solve, man? Other than to get me out of myself for a minute. And then I'm going to be right back in the dereliction, the pain, the misery, the hopelessness, the brokenness, you know, like no self-worth, you know. I'm going to be right back where I started, man. And, you know, so I went through that process, man, and I kept coming in and out, man. Like I was that addict that kept coming in and out, you know, over a decade. You know, I'm coming up on 18 months clean, man, and it took me almost 10 years to get this time. You know, it talks about like when we're beaten, we'll become willing, and how some members may have to experience more pain than others, you know, and that's just my story, man. I had to experience a lot of pain, man. And you know, the fellowship I attend, the meetings I go to, you know, we celebrate with key tags, and you know, like I had to pick up over like 40 white key tags, you know, and that's like the welcome key tag. Like you got a day clean, you know, like 29 days or less. And you know, I had to go through these things to be where I'm at today. And I truly believe, man, like God carried me through it, you know. You know, at 18, you know, I caught a robbery, and as a result of this disease, you know, I needed one more, man. And when I'm in active addiction, man, there's nothing I won't do for one more. You know, so I caught a case and went to prison for a little bit, man. And you know, looking at a life sentence, man, and it's like now I can look back and see God's hand in it. You know, like yeah, like you know, I had a good lawyer. You know, my family, you know, they enabled me. Once again, you know, they paid the lawyer, they did this, but it's like, man, I see people get life and pay 20, 30 grand for a lawyer, you know, all the time, man. You know, you hear about it. You know, they got a good lawyer and still get life, you know, and it's like, man, I was blessed, man. I didn't receive justice, man. I received mercy, you know, and I'm so grateful for that, man. Like that's my message, man, is God, you know, like and jails, institutions, and death, you know, because I've been through it all, man. I went to prison as a result of this disease. Like, you know, I'm a 2-time convicted felon. I've got a lot of stuff on my record, and you know, these are things I had to go through in order to get to the point where I'm at now, to get to that point of surrender, like to truly receive the gift of desperation, you know. And it's like, man, I've overdosed as a result of this disease. You know, I've overdosed and died, man. And you know, they had to hit me with the Narcan, man, and get the defibrillator out, man, and charge me up back to life. And, you know, the doctor said it was a miracle, you know, that I'm walking and talking, you know, because I was dead for 7 or 8 minutes, man. And, you know, they didn't factor in God, right? You know, because God had a plan for me, you know, and it wasn't my time to go at that time. So, you know, that's just what happened, man. I survived and, you know, I kept going through pain, you know, I kept coming in and out and that's my story, you know, like a lot of pain. And the only reason I went through all of this is because I was so unwilling to work the 12 steps. You know, I would do everything else. I would be of service. You know, I would put chairs up. I would make coffee. You know, I would stay before the meeting. I got there early. You know, I stayed after. You know, but I would never work steps. You know, and that's why I kept using. That's why I kept continuing use, because I wasn't really in recovery, man. Like, you know, through my experience, like if I'm not working steps, man, and I'm not trying to better my life, you know, like, am I really in recovery, or am I just remaining abstinent? You know, and that's what I was doing. You know, and it's like I finally got up to this point, man. You know, I'm 25, man. I've got a birthday coming up in like a few days. You know, this Tuesday I'll be 26. And man, like I never thought I would make it to see 21. You know, and it's crazy the life I live today. You know, I've been able to build a relationship with a God of my own understanding, man, and through the process of working steps, you know, like the second step, like gave me the hope shot, you know, like that I can be restored to sanity, man. Like, and then the faith came in, and I got a little bit of faith, and that faith grew into trust, and now like this trust is building into commitment and like a surrender, you know. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, man. I moved up to Sioux City, Iowa, like about 18 months ago. You know, I came up here with like 26 days clean, and you know, I came up here for my daughter, you know, and at the end of the road this time, man, like, you know, the mother of my child is laying on the hospital bed, man, and she's about to have my daughter, and I'm nodded out on the couch, man, on the hospital couch, you know, and they wake me up and they say, you know, your daughter's about to be here, right? You know, and man, I had to go into the bathroom and do one more.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's how the disease had me, man. Like, but like I'm sharing about this, and I'm sharing my experience. You know, like I was crying, man, when I met my daughter. You know, but I wasn't crying because I was meeting my baby girl for the first time, man. Like I was crying because I couldn't stop using. You know, like abscess on my arm, man, that had just been drained, and like, you know, some grimy shit, man, and I'm doing these things, and I'm continuing to use, and you know, like truly using against my own will, man. You know, but you know, the disease is powerful, right? You know, that there's no doubt about that, man. But like um the program I work, man, and the program of recovery, right, and the 12 steps are so much more powerful, right? And God is so much more powerful, man. You know, like I've seen members pick up one key tag, right? They pick up one white key tag, man. This program is so powerful, you know. And man, like I stay in the middle of the boat today, man. Like through all this crisis, this COVID, this pandemic, this epidemic, like whatever you want to call it, man. Like I've been dealing with a pandemic my entire life, man. It's called the disease of addiction. You know, and like if I continue to use, like it's a one-way stop to jails, institutions, and death. You know, so like not to downplay the COVID or anything, but like I've seen people in my area and in other areas, man, like they kind of, you know, they're seems that they're sharing that how they fell off, you know, how they're not working steps, how they're not, you know, doing the things we do to get one more day. You know, and it's like complacency will kill me, man. You know, I got to keep moving forward, and that's just me. You know, so like through this shutdown, man, through like the COVID crisis, like I continued to work steps, man. Like I continued to reach out, talk to my sponsor, talk to my grand sponsor, like talk to other people in my tree, and just network, man. That's a huge part of my recovery is my network. You know, I've got a long list of men that I can rely on, man, that I can share things with, like when I'm going through, and people I can confide in, man. You know, and it's like my sponsor, like he always tells me, right, like the only thing we can control is our actions and our attitudes. So I had to surrender to the crisis, man. Like I had to surrender that the meetings in my area are closed down, man. Like I can't get to a meeting, you know, and I'm so grateful for the online platforms, man. Like and how different areas are coming together, man, and they're throwing events and the unity involved in that, man. You know, just to carry the message, you know, and like people getting clean through this, You know, it's fucking amazing, man. And how I see it is it's only God. You know, like I couldn't imagine like being new and fresh in recovery, like, and this started. You know, I've got a sponsee right now. When the meeting shut down, man, like he had 7 days. You know, he had a week clean, and now, you know, like he's gonna be celebrating 90 days here in a couple of days, man. And we've walked through this, man, and we're working steps, and like he's being of service, and he's just doing the things we do. And that's what my predecessors taught me, man. Like, if you want what we have, you got to do what we do. And, you know, like through all this, man, like the disease wants me to isolate, you know, but like the 12 step meetings and like the 12 steps, man, they're a lifeboat, you know, in a sea of isolation, you know, in my network, you know, like I never stopped doing what I do, man. I continue to work steps. I continue to be of service. I continue to reach out to my sponsor and, you know, working steps with sponsees, and it's been a beautiful process, man. And I'm grateful for it. Right. I've been able to hear messages from all over the world, you know, messages I may not have heard if this would have never went online, you know, and starting to have meetings online and everything, you know. So I'm truly grateful for that. And I hear people in meetings talking about, you know, they can't do these meetings. You know, it's not the same. And, you know, like sitting in self-pity, man, like I can't afford to sit in self-pity today, Carl. I'm too sick, man. Like I'll get high, you know, like if I stop working steps, man, I'll get high. You know, like if I stop doing these things, I'm going to use like quickly or slowly, you know, but like eventually it'll happen, you know. And it's like, man, like all this has brought me closer to God, you know, like having a deeper trust in God. And like, I just finished a 6 step, man, and about to move on to 7. And it's like, you know, seeing these defects, man, and how they're taking control, man, like how I'm acting on defects, and I have this higher awareness through working 5th step, right? Like I have a higher awareness of myself, man. So I see myself acting out, and I see myself hurting people, and the woman I'm in a relationship with, and you know, it's like going through pain, man, and I'm trying to fix myself, right? You know, I'm trying to fix myself, man, and it took me a few weeks to go through a lot of pain, man, and it's like I finally surrendered. You know, like I finally found a deeper level of trust in God, and I have a deeper level of surrender now, like through working the 6th step. You know, it's been an amazing process, man, and this is something I have to do every day. You know, like I don't just surrender once, man, and I'm all good. You know, I have to turn my will and my life over every day, man, and surrender to the God of my understanding every day, and surrender to this process of recovery, man, and surrender to the program on a daily basis. You know, and like I'm going through some changes in my life. You know, like today, man, like I lost a good job last Friday. You know, like a career job, man, like a 401k, like health benefits, you know, dental, eye, you know, I had a work vehicle, man. And it's like, you know, God's timing is always perfect, because I just finished the 6th step, man. So I'm surrendering to it, you know, and it's like, I can either sit in the problem, man, and sit in self-pity and woe is me, you know, and cry about it, or I can get in the solution, man, and start putting in them applications, man, and practicing humility, man, like, because that was a shot to the ego, you know, like having a good job and being valued, you know, and then it all ends like that, you know, like I have to practice humility and reach out to my network and like, man, I need some help. Just like practicing humility in the 1st step, man, like going up and saying like, will you sponsor me? You know, like I need help, you know, and it's like through working steps, man, like I get to do this, like I get to apply principles to my life today, man. And it's like, you know, I'm not perfect, man. Like my grand sponsor, Johnny C, you know, he always talks about like, you can follow me around on a daily basis and see that I fall short, man. You know, I'm human, man. and I've got some self-acceptance today, and I accept my humanness, and it's like, but that's no excuse to be an asshole or to be a dick. You know, it's like we're looking for gradual improvement, man, like not instant faultlessness. You know, and through working the steps, man, and building this relationship with God, you know, like through the job I just had, man, like I was able to travel to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was out there for a couple weeks, man, and they sent me out on a job, you know, and I'm pulling up, and it's the Nebraska State Penitentiary, man, and like through a process of working steps, man, and building this relationship with God, right, like I get to be on the other side. You know, I was coming in with credentials and a badge, and you know, it's like coming in with you know the to get in the doors, man, and it's crazy, you know, like and you know how I was sharing earlier, right? Like I get to have spiritual experiences today, man, and like that was a real spiritual experience for me, man, because like it showed me, like I felt like God was speaking to me, telling me, you know, like this, if you use right, like that's where you're going to go back to. You know, you're going to be right back in that orange or blue jumpsuit, like however it is in your area. You know, I was in the blues, and it's crazy what God can do today, man. You know, He works miracles every day in my life, man. And you know, if you're clean today, man, like you're a miracle. You know, and that's how I see it. You know, every day's a
Yeah.
blessing. Every day's a gift. You know, like I was prayed into these rooms, man, and you know the moment of silences we take before and after the meeting, you know, they're very special to me, you know, because like I'm a product of that. You know, like people were praying for me for many years to get clean, and you know, it's crazy how my life is today, man. It's amazing, right? Like I get to be a father today, man. Like I get to be a good dad because of recovery and being in recovery and working steps, man, and God, you know, like I was using the first week my daughter was out, man, and I was before I got clean, you know, and for like for about a week after she was born, you know, and like since then, man, like she's never had to see me high, you know, and that's such a blessing, you know, and that's some of the things I get to do today, man. Like as a result of staying clean and trying to do the next right thing and working steps and building a relationship with God, you know, like it's such a beautiful process, you know. Like I love being clean today, man. I've received many gifts, man, and it's like